Welcome to Power Hour, where the editors of Powersports Business interview the movers and shakers of the powersports industry.
Hi, everybody. It's Brendan Baker here with Powersports Business and another Power Hour. And we've got Rad Gladfelder with us today, Director of Power Sports for Young Powersports. So there's a lot of power sports in there.
Yep.
So Rad, thank you for coming on. And Young Powersports has been a big mover. I think a big, you've had a lot of impact over the past year or so with
Yep.
a lot of things you've done in the community, from community service to opening new stores when other stores, when people are kind of shutting down, you guys are opening. And then, for all these things you've done, we gave out a bunch of awards a couple weeks ago at our show in Orlando, which included a Leadership Award, which is
Yep.
something we hand out. But, so you got a pretty solid crew there. And
Yeah.
tell me, you're stepping into this role kind of new. Even though you've been with Young Powersports, tell me a little of your background.
Yeah. So, funny enough, this is the only job I've ever had, essentially. I started in the power sports industry. My dad had a dealership in Logan, Utah. So it was every day after school, sweeping, garbages, building machines. And so I just kind of born into it. I grew up racing motocross and snowcross and snowmobiles. And so it just kind of, it's been bred into me, and it's all I really know. So, to continue down the path with Young, it was just kind of fitting. We had two dealerships my dad and I had that eventually we sold to Young's, and they're
Okay.
like, "Hey, you should come work for us." And after a little bit of convincing, because it was just all new to me, I'm like, what the heck, man? Let's try it.
Yeah.
So 4 years later, here I am.
So, when you say, because you guys had a dealership, you were, pretty involved with ownership and all that. How is it different being part of the Young Powersports Group, which owns, what do they own? How many, got like 11 or 12
Yep.
powersports dealers, something like
Yep.
that?
So we're at 11 this month. Yes.
Okay. This month, next month
This
might
month.
be
It
different.
could be more coming down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, you go from an owner, and responsible for everything. And, like I said, I'm from small mom and pop shop. I didn't know all the ins and outs, that, these big corporate companies know. And so the biggest thing for me is I was doing everything, from F&I to sales to parts to service. And I had a great little group with me. But we ran a skeleton crew, but it worked for us, and we had a lot of fun. We won a lot of awards. So when we were approached, the biggest thing was I was going to lose all control. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And
right.
so that was really hard for me. And with the Young Automotive Group coming in, they're like, "Hey, bro, we want you to keep doing what you're doing. You obviously been successful. Help us get better." But I think the biggest thing that I would notate in joining a group like this is the resources and the help that you get when you come on board. I'm not doing payroll anymore. My employees and funny enough, dude, all my employees that were with me at my old store, they're still with me
Oh,
at
wow.
Young's right now. So,
That's cool. That's
a
awesome.
lot of times they think, hey, they're going to come in, they're going to can everyone. Dude, we need the talent.
Yeah,
Talent's really hard to find right now. And so just bettering the lives of my employees we had no benefits. We,
right.
we had none of
We're a
that stuff.
small
So,
place, and it's hard to keep up and be competitive with some of these larger groups when they can
yeah,
offer, a little more robust, packages for
yeah.
especially benefits, and healthcare.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would be the biggest thing is just the help and support I get. I've got, a huge team behind me now that can help in every aspect of the business. Anything I don't know, I can make a phone call and find out in 2 minutes,
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference.
How would you describe like your leadership style?
Oh man. That's a tricky question, Brennan. I'm a different breed, man. Like I said, I was born into it.
Yeah.
Um, emptying garbage. So my leadership style
You've done
is
it from top to bottom. You've
uh,
emptied the garbage cans. You've picked, swept the floors, done
yeah.
all that, and then worked your way incrementally.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
did parts. I started in sales. I did parts. I did service. And then I finally got back to sales where I was, where I really thrived.
yeah,
But it was kind of shaping me for, future roles. So, dude, I'm a in the trenches kind of guy. I won't ask any of my people to do anything that I won't do. I kind of at fault sometimes, it's easier if I just go do the job rather than showing some of my managers what I would have done.
yeah.
So probably a little bit too in the trenches sometimes, but I'm a trench guy. That's where
Right.
I thrive. So
Lead by example kind of thing.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's all different leadership styles, but, I think in this business, it's like you got to show what you need to be done, how it needs to be done the way you like. And leading by example is just kind of a solid style, I think. So,
Yeah. No, I like it. And empowering our people, right? That's one thing I kind of messed up as an owner is I didn't empower them, right? I made all the decisions for everything with some of their input, but it was my final decisions. Now I'm, empowering my people. Like, I don't know, man, what do you think's the best thing to do in this situation,
right.
and letting them kind of think on their own.
And you're probably, because you have all these different stores now, you're not in every store 24, you
Yeah,
gotta have
exactly.
to rely on those managers and
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Yep. You're exactly right.
you know, let's talk a little bit about strategy and market conditions here, because right now, starting off the beginning of the year, this is all top of mind for everybody. But what do you see dealers across the country navigating? Like, how are you approaching inventory in 2026?
So that's a good question. Approaching inventory in 2026, anyone that was in business during COVID, that didn't exist. Right. Everyone was the best
No
salesman, best
inventory.
dealership
Yeah,
in the nation. Right.
right.
We're back to real times now where inventory is an issue. And what are we doing to minimize that? Through our group, we've actually built a build center where all of our units are warehoused. So whether it's, this location or the next, and how we do that is they're assembled there, and it doesn't matter which store sells it. We take the oldest aged inventory. So for instance, if they're buying a KX450 in my Centerville location, but I've got a much older one in my other location, they'll pull that bike to give to the customer to help cut down on flooring and on interest and everything like that. But the biggest thing, other than that, that's unique to what we do, is working with our manufacturers, right? How do we minimize this? Can I get them to a market that they are selling and do some horse trading back and forth,
Right.
and just kind of utilizing those relationships while being cognizant of what is going on within the store with your inventory. Flat lists on every old age piece, just to keep them moving. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said no. Inventory is great.
Right.
I
Well,
think. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean, I think that's everyone wants to say, oh yeah, it's all great, but really, once you dig below the layers, it's a lot of managing and a lot of analyzing what you have and how to best move it.
Yeah.
Especially with multiple stores, right? You got to look at, well, this store is going to move more dirt bikes, and
Yeah.
this one's moving more UTVs or cruisers or sport bikes or whatever. So,
Yeah. No, 100%. It's knowing where each one of your stores are, or if you have a one store location, man, have your flat list, know what needs to go, be strategic about your ordering, and a lot of times you can't be bullied by the manufacturers either, right? We got to play ball,
you got to stand
but
up.
at the end of the day, it's also our money, and we have to protect that first, right?
Right. Oh yeah. The manufacturer wants you to take everything.
Oh, 100, yeah,
20 of
easy,
those,
yeah.
10 of these. 20 of
Yep.
those. Yeah.
They're all selling.
Yeah, they're
But
all
we don't
selling.
sell
What's up?
watercraft in December.
Yeah, exactly. Right. and snowmobiles in the summer. So
Yeah, exactly.
with that, you're managing a lot of data. What are the KPIs? What are the things that you look at? What are the numbers that you're like your go-to kind of like, I got to see this every day or more often?
Yeah. So for me, like in parts, and each one of my parts managers and people know this, right? Parts, line items per ticket, margin, watching discounts, right? I mean, we can do all the business in the world, but are we making any money on those parts, right? So
Right.
monitoring discounts is really big. I look at that, definitely weekly. In service, hours per customer pay RO, ELR, so your effective labor rate per advisor, right? Same thing. Are
Right.
they discounting it down? Are we getting enough hours? And then tech efficiency. Are we doing a good job? Well, we're 4 weeks out. We're 4 weeks out because, Johnny's turning 1 hour a day.
Right.
And then in sales, F&I penetration, making sure we hit that mark. If you follow the dollars, higher F&I penetration, the higher the back end. So that's a big focus. Another thing with sales, our attachment rate. So for accessorized units, we like to follow that as well. And just, because that's a lot, we miss a lot of money on that side that you don't realize, right?
Do you pre-build some of these with accessories, or do you let the customer kind of say, I want to add this and that, and then you add them on to that ticket? Or
Yeah, no, great question. 100% both.
Yeah.
If you go in any of my stores, you will absolutely see a machine that's expensive. I mean, they're $70,000-$80,000 in some of these side-by-sides because they're getting so crazy.
Oh yeah.
But I just want, when Brendan walks into Young Powersports XL, I want him to go, oh my gosh, dude, that is a cool machine. How much is it? Oh my goodness. Well, hold on, Brendan.
Yeah.
We can make this machine. You don't have to do all this, but this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And just giving the customer, just because we see this every single day, right? So none of this stuff is new to us or we freak out a lot of the times. But when a customer walks in for the first time and they're going, holy cow, what is that? I want them to feel excited and see what they can do because they don't know yet.
It's like they need to be able to see the dream,
Yep.
you gotta see the sizzle and the dream of what, that ultimate build could be, Yeah, if they want to drop 70, 80 grand, that's fine. I'm sure that'll be cool. But, start a little at a time, or, when you're buying a unit, add on a few things that make sense for what you're doing. But I mean, I think that's definitely the little customization, accessorization of units is a big profit area that can be a good profit.
Well, and I mentioned, I've been doing this for 20 plus years now, right? So just kind of how everything's evolved. We didn't have that many aftermarket accessories. I remember selling the first Polaris RZR in 2008, and we're lucky to have a roof and a windshield. We had nothing else.
Yeah.
And so you weren't really missing any opportunities because you're just selling the machine. Well, now the opportunity lies in all the parts and accessories.
Yeah. I mean, in that market, and especially a lot of these markets, those accessories have taken off so much and taken on a whole thing of their own that it's like, these guys want to come in and build it almost like how they were doing with the Harleys, like I got a customer, I want to build this. I want these wheels. I want this kind of shock package. And, I want this little whip here on there and, and so on and so forth.
And it's funny you say Harley. So we've got 2 Harley dealerships that we just picked up.
Yeah.
And watching their attachment rate and their parts and accessories, they also do parts, accessories, and then garments.
Yeah.
Dude, they blow it out of out of this world because they've been doing that. Harley's conditioned them to do that for so long, and it's just new to power sports. So I'm watching my Harley stores going, oh my goodness, like how much did they put on that bike? And then I'm over here talking to my side-by-side dealerships, and they're like, well, they got a $300 windshield. I'm like, that's it?
Yeah, right.
You guys are missing it,
Yeah.
But it's just fun to see, like, it's just kind of coming along just ever so slowly.
Right. And I think that's a cool thing that you can really pick up from learning from that, that side of it, the Harley side, which is unique, Harley dealerships, especially those standalone Harley dealerships are unique to a multi-line metric dealership that sells everything,
Yeah.
So and just the way that culture is, the way that they've been, the Harley with all their garments and all those accessories that they have, plus all the aftermarket you can
Yep.
add on there. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in adding on sales and adding on parts and
Yep.
accessories. But
Yep.
so
There
let's
is.
shift a little bit to the team and the culture, because that's really a big part of what got you guys the leadership award and all these other women. You've got Women with Spark awards, 40 under 40, a couple of best in class awards, plus the leadership.
Yep.
What is the key? What is your the secret ingredient that makes your culture go? What do you note about your company culture?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny you asked that. So we actually have a, mission statement and and company values, right? So, we have a card that we keep on us, says our mission statement, has our values. And those are constant reminders to our employees. Every meeting we have, we start it with the same thing. And it's what we're about. And it's our secret sauce, right? It's what is good for the customer and also the dealership, and I think, that culture, I tell my guys all the time, guys and gals, hey guys, we spend more time here than with our family.
Right.
So I don't want to have a busted up work life because I
Yeah.
spend more time with you guys than my wife,
Yeah.
So nurturing and developing that culture, really, if you come into our shop, I mean, man, it's like a family. It's from the very top, from Spence Young Jr. to down to us guys. Man, it's a family feel. We let our employees know right where we're at. Hey, we're winning, we're losing, we're down by 10 in the fourth quarter, and we just share that with them. And I think the biggest thing for me is being there for my people. I'm available by phone call, whether it's personal or whether it's work.
Yeah.
And my GMs do the same thing for their employees, right? They know that we have their back, and it's a lot of growth and nurturing in all departments to grow that culture.
I know the people that I've met, like Conley Brochures was at and a nice young guy. I mean, and just watching him, observing how he interacted with the whole group of award winners, and he was like Mr. Helpful, like I'm helping everybody. And I could see that it's like, it's something in the must be in the water you guys are serving there or something. Because, I mean, just a good guy, and
Yeah.
somebody that you would feel trusted with to run things and to buy something, to buy a
Yeah.
vehicle from. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that kind of starts. Every morning we have our morning manager meetings. Our save a deals, our trainings. We do a lot of cross training from GM to GM or sales manager, salesman, getting in other stores, because when you operate a group this big, it's really easy. The bigger you get, it's really easy to lose that culture,
Right.
because you have all these different stores that are trying to develop their own culture, which is okay.
Yeah.
But we need the camaraderie, and we need everyone to think and walk and talk together. And so that cross training is a huge piece of that, of keeping everyone on the same page, and we're all about the same purpose.
Especially if you have someone like, hey, they move over to this store or that store, you want to
Yeah.
have that consistency, I would think, to and I think that overriding, the culture and the way you do things, that has to be front and center.
Yeah, I can say 100% without a doubt, if I have to pull a sales manager today, and put him in another store, he or she's welcome with open arms, and within a day or two they're right back. They're just kind of cranking, because the processes are the same.
Yeah.
It's just different faces. And
Right.
if we're cross training enough, it's not even different faces. It's
Yeah,
just a
you
different
kind of get to
just a
know
different
everybody.
story.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, with all your stores, how often is everybody getting to get, like, do you have meetings every now and then where you have everybody together and you're training together, or do you more or less go to each store and do it separately?
So every store trains and does their meetings every day, on just a store level. Every Thursday, I have a GM call with my GMs. It's an hour call on Thursday morning. Every Thursday morning we have a GM call. Everyone gets on the same base, what we're trying to accomplish. As far as everyone getting together and training, we do that quarterly when we're throwing out big sales or whatever, or any constant training that we're trying to get through.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's. How would you keep your store level managers in line and accountable? How do you, keep them, focused on the task at hand?
Yeah. So once again, so we do weekly one-on-ones with our teams, right, with our managers, and then it trickles down to their people. And then once again, just always being available for that phone call, because I mean, my phone rings nonstop. Hey, what would you do here? What would you do here? And just kind of help guide them through, ever so softly. But they know their expectations, and they know what they're held accountable to. Just knowing what they're being held to helps a bunch, right? Well, nobody restocked the water. Well, it's not my job. Nobody told me to. Okay, well, right. Okay, now it's your job. Now you're held accountable.
Yeah. So you have to know what it is is your responsibility, and that, and those managers, they should be like, you're pretty much, it's everything. So if the water's not, stocked or whatever, that you got to make sure that whoever you're going to empower, that they, take care of it. But going on to like a industry perspective standpoint, what was something, if, you were a dealer before, you were on, if you could look back now, knowing what to tell that guy, so your mom and pop guy, what do you think now that you didn't know then that would have been helpful?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is I focused heavily on the sales side, right? I just knew if I sold, 100 units this month that we were going to be profitable. Well, what did parts do? No idea. What did service do? No idea. They're turning wrenches. I did very little F&I. My whole goal is to get the customer approved so they could buy the unit. I didn't care about if I got any back end or if I offered them extended warranties. I left a lot of money on the table not knowing that. So I think the biggest thing is I would focus on back end. I know it's a pain, but you've got to have it. And making sure each department stands on their own, right? I just knew at the end of the day, if my dealership made 40 grand that month, that it made 40 grand. Where did it come from? I don't know. I didn't care. Right. I would be more strategic in sales is doing their job, parts doing their job, service doing their job, and watch those departments as a pot, right? Versus one big kettle.
So take them as individual channels or like individual business almost is, Yeah, and that's the thing with Powersports. I mean, you're really managing multiple businesses on top of having multiple stores, but within each store, it's multi-businesses. So it's like, having to, switch hats all the time. But, what gives you confidence in the Powersports industry right now or going, long term? I know we've had kind of, it's been a struggle a little bit this past year and, getting out of COVID and normalization. But, what is there something that, that you think is really driving you to, stay positive,
Yeah. On that, it's honestly the amount of new buyers entering the industry. I thought the same thing when I was a mom and pop. I'm like, man, how long can I keep selling machines? Like, I'm going to run out of buyers.
Right.
And it's just funny. We're seeing an influx, at least where we're at in Utah, as first-time buyers, so good. that gives me, great faith. I'm watching our stores that are continuing to grow in other areas as well. Man, we got some good stuff happening. I'm extremely bullish on it. That, man, we're just getting started.
Right.
There a lot of good stuff's happening. A lot of times we focus on the negative and inventory and this having this, but man, we joined this power sports industry because it was fun, or we were passionate about it, or it's just all we knew. And so for me, you got to keep it fun. You got to keep it exciting. and that's what keeps me excited about it. And
remember the passion that what you brought you into it too, what brought you into being working in power sports.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, no, this is all really good stuff, and I can tell you got some people there waiting to probably take your time. So, but I really, really appreciate you coming on with us, and again, I just wanted to extend congratulations to you guys for all the awards you won at our honors awards ceremony, and you guys keep doing great work, and I've been really impressed with all the stuff you guys do, from the community service and all those programs that you have. I think that you guys are really setting an example. So, that's why I wanted to point out, give you guys that leadership award, because I think you guys do a great job. So, congrats. And anything else you want to say in closing, and anything to your troops or anything like that?
No, I mean, I think you got to build with good people around you. I was lucky enough to, have some mentors, in a Jeremy Young, a Spence Young, a Kelly Moss, and all my GMs, so build yourself around a good team, empower them, let them know that you love them, help them through the hard times, and don't be afraid to change things up. Sometimes a really good idea just doesn't execute, and it's okay. Right. Put a cap on it, move on. Just don't be afraid to shift,
Right.
So
yeah, that's true. I mean, you got to be able to be nimble enough to be like, all right, that didn't work, let's try this, Yeah. So no, that's great stuff. Well, thank you so much, Rad. And I love the name Rad. I mean, I feel like that's like the most power sports name ever. So, or skiing. You could have been a skier or a surfer or something too.
Oh, unfortunately, I'm not good at either one of those. So thank goodness I'm in power sports.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
all right,
Brendan,
man.
Thank you so much. And
you
guys all have an awesome weekend.
Thanks. You too. You as well.
We'll see you.
If you like this podcast, please like, share, and subscribe. We also invite you to connect with us on PowersportsBusiness.com.